Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Nate there, Christian here.
Yes.
Episode one of Avatar The Last Airbender on Netflix. We just finished doing our reaction video. We had a good time with that,
We did.
watching and enjoying. Now, this is our thoughts on, as a whole, the episode, review, ratings, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So, Nate, did this
Yep.
meet your expectation? Or did you have
I
expectations?
yeah, I was
How are
gonna
you
say
feeling about this coming in?
I didn't have any expectations. I
None?
No, because I wasn't like this huge fan of The Last Airbender. Like I wasn't one of those diehard like I'm just not a diehard fan of it. So I liked the movie. Diehard fans hated the movie.
Mm,
I appreciated the cartoon. I liked the cartoon with the exception of two episodes, I think. One I know, two I'm thinking. And yeah, so I didn't have any expectations. I just knew that it was going to be a big thing, and I hope that since it was going to be an episode, um, that they were going to really come through with the bending and the storyline, and it seems like they did. They elaborated on some parts that weren't in the cartoon, and they kind of skipped some parts that were in the cartoon. But
right.
I think all in all, it it went pretty well. What do you think?
Yeah, my expectation was for it to be bad. Just
Well,
I mean, when these things tend to be adapted. I mean, I know
Mhm.
this isn't a true anime, right? Because
Mhm.
it's from the US, but
Right, yeah.
it's anime adjacent.
Mhm.
A lot of these live action things just tend to be kind of bad.
Yeah.
I think we talked about in part because um in the anime sense, a lot of it is so stylistic and dramatized in a way as to
Mhm.
be unrealistic, but that is
Mhm.
the point,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Even the way people talk to themselves, a lot of it monologue, a lot of it is just very extra,
Yep.
but that's what you're there for, you know.
Mhm.
And animation, you're not expecting it to be real
Right.
because
Yeah.
already
Yeah.
animated, right?
Right.
So there's that piece. Also, the other piece is they tend to be able to do a lot of goofy stuff, even in something that's very serious,
Right.
right? All of a sudden somebody will just get hit in the head with a hammer, like just stupid, like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but they can do that because it's a cartoon, right? And
Yeah.
so you're able to, at least for me, move between serious and comedy very easily and not be too disrupted by that.
Right.
Whereas I feel like live action, that's much more difficult to manage.
It is.
Like
Yeah.
having something
Mhm.
be silly at times and then very heartfelt and serious at times.
Yeah, it's not only difficult to manage just in general, but it's difficult to manage when it's an adaptation of what used to be an actual cartoon. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's definitely yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Because I mean, a lot of the Marvel stuff, right? Like that's adapting a comic book, and so
Hmm.
people don't have a direct correlation necessarily as to like how it would look or
Right.
how
Yeah.
it would feel, right?
Hmm.
So you can
Yeah.
kind of take that what you want.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
But this is going to have a direct relation because we've seen Ang do things. We've seen, you know, some of the slapstick stuff. We've seen him, talking to the sky bison and other things,
Right.
right? We've seen these things happen, and so
Hmm.
it's been different. But yeah, I said that all that to say I expected it to be bad.
Hmm.
To me, it was not bad.
Right.
Now,
Now.
here's the thing. I actually don't have much issue with really any of the acting or like the choreography, those kind of things. I don't really have much
Mhm.
issue with that. I think that was
Right.
all pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
My issue tends to be with some of the like the quality of the sets. Like to me, it
Oh,
still
you said the
seems
CGI.
kind of cheap-ish, right? It still to me looks more low budget than I was expecting. I'll put it that
Yeah.
way. I'm not saying it looks like trash. I was expecting it to be much higher budget, right? It's in the same
Yeah.
way, like now looking back at let's say Game of Thrones season one,
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, this wasn't. didn't have the money they had later on. Like I get as soon as I see, I'm like, okay, this looks very fake, right?
Hmm.
Where back then, just since it was so new and I was into it, I didn't notice that.
Right.
So I think it's similar, right? I think it's just I think it could look better. I think it will look better over time. I feel like if they get more money. Um, but that's the thing that I know. I just noticed that, like, I was like, okay, a lot of these things look fake, feel very fake.
Okay.
It feels very much like a set. But
Okay.
I put that aside. I had a good time. I
Okay.
enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I didn't notice. I did notice the CGI. There was a lot of CGI there. Um, but I think just in general, it's really hard to do CGI unless you're like focused on doing awesome CGI, right? So it's really hard to kind of integrate that into a movie. So I didn't really have much issue there. There are some things that just very much look like animation, right? So whatever. But yeah, that didn't disturb me one way or the other. It's just something that I noticed. What I was really scared that wasn't going to happen was I was really scared that they were not going to really lean into which is what a lot of live action shows do based on like superpower type shows, um, is not really lean into the magic, right? So the bending and stuff like that. But I think that they went, and that might be why some of the props look fake, because the effects, they spent so much money on effects, So I don't know, but they did well, and it didn't look. I don't think the effects looked cheap.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. To your
when he
point,
was bending Earth,
yeah,
that was
the effects
ridiculous.
of the bending to me looked very good.
Right. Yeah.
It was more like the kind of the background sets and some of the snow, like stuff like that. I was like, okay, this looks kind of cheap. But
Right.
like the actual like effects of them doing the bending, yeah, I think that
Hmm.
actually went very well. Again, like
Yeah.
I had a slight issue about just some of how visually some of the airbending looks
Air.
sometimes because it's
Hmm.
kind of like that blurry little. But I'm like, that's
Yeah.
preference, and how's he gonna show it?
Right. Yeah.
Except like a lot of shrapnel in the air to see it moving around.
Right.
Like when Aang was super like overpowered in the end, you could see,
Right.
okay, this air is moving around, but it's
Right.
because
Yeah.
it's all this debris and such. But yeah, it was a good time. I mean,
Yeah.
I have not read anything about this yet, and as far as read any reviews of of
Oh,
of
right. Right.
the of
Okay.
the series,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
I may go around and just kind of see what people are saying about episode 1 right now, because now that I've
Hmm.
seen this, I know I'm
Yeah.
gonna be tainted, but I'm just curious to see what
Right.
people are saying, what they like, what they didn't like. I as I mentioned, I just finished watching the first 5 episodes of the cartoon, so it's very
Right.
fresh in my mind.
Hmm.
And so there's little stuff that I missed. Um, like one thing I remember was when they were trying to figure out how to ride the sky bison, right? They're sitting
Yeah.
there like, okay, go. All
Apa.
right.
Apa. Whatever his
Yeah,
name is.
yeah, but they're trying to figure out what to say, right? So that was kind
Hmm.
of humorous and kind of showing them learning instead of all of a sudden they show up and they're just driving him around. Like that to
Yeah.
me, it's
That
just like,
was that was interesting because
what do you mean? Like how
yeah.
how did this happen?
Right.
Um there was a part after Aang got captured on the ship, there was and there was more of a fight between him and Prince Zuko
Right.
that I would have liked to have seen. More
Hmm.
like a one-on-one battle.
Right. Hmm.
And he actually just beat him and then left. That would have been more interesting to me to see that,
Hmm.
but it's like stuff like that. That's like, it's just differences, right? Like you can't do
Right.
everything.
No.
And I was curious how much they would try to get through because the episode is an hour. The
Hmm.
cartoon is about 20-ish minutes per episode,
Hmm.
so I was wondering, timeline wise, how far they would get given they spent a lot of time on kind of the before scenes, which I enjoyed. I like them having the scenes from before
Right. I did too.
to kind of set up the show. I think that was
Right.
helpful.
Yep. I don't disagree.
Yeah, that was really good. That was really good.
Yeah, I really like I don't know. I was enthralled with it. I was enthralled with the show. Um I guess I'm not really focused so much on the writing. Well, some of the writing is interesting. That's usually where I have the biggest pet peeve is if the writing makes no sense, right? So, granted, we did have some questions and whatever, but I think the writing makes sense, at least up until now. Like it makes sense. Like um, he accidentally trapped himself. I mean, he accidentally got knocked into the water, so he had to save himself, and his avatar saved himself. He didn't. He didn't realize what he
Right.
was doing. So which is also interesting. Like, does the avatar ability have a mind of its own? Right. So, anyways, that's a different.
Yes.
That's a different question.
Questions.
Yeah, because that's what happened when he got upset. Like he got upset and it just took over him, and he didn't know what he was doing. So, but the writing makes sense to me. I like it. Yeah. So
Yeah. Now, how do you feel about, I guess, the way, I know it's been a while since you watched the cartoon, but the way the characters are
years.
portrayed versus the way that they are in the cartoon?
I feel like they're pretty the one I had the biggest issue with is Grandma. I don't know why, but there's something about it that I was just like, shut up. Like that's how I was thinking. And I do
Wow.
not know. I honestly do not know why. I don't know if it's because
It's a very
I
strong
felt like the
reaction.
yeah, right.
Just shut up,
Because
Grandma.
I just feel like that. Yeah, if I was gonna pick on anything, it would be that. But I don't recall all of their like quirks from the cartoon, but I feel like they. Because no, I do remember Aang was more playful. I remember. So what are their names? What's the girl's name?
Katara.
Katara. I remember she was more serious. And then what's her brother's name?
Is it Sokka or Sokka? I think it's
Sokka,
Sokka.
maybe.
Yeah.
Sokka. He had jokes, right? So like I think that they brought that out pretty well. Like I really love, this is one of my, I've said this before and could keep saying it, like I really love offhanded jokes, like jokes that you don't hear, most people don't hear,
Right. Kind of under the
but
breath, kind of
yeah,
at
under
the
the breath
side.
and
Yeah.
whatever. Like he did that, and I don't know what he said, but I don't know if it was like during a war, during what he said. I don't remember what he said, but he did it in this episode, and I was like, yeah,
He's definitely the sarcastic one.
right,
For sure.
exactly. So I like it. What do you think? Yeah, because you just started.
Yeah, I
rewatching
just watched it. So yeah, everyone seemed to be pretty close to kind of the character. And you mentioned exactly what I was thinking about the most, which was Aang, which is he is definitely much more playful in the cartoon.
Yeah.
I mean, the show as a whole is much more playful. The cartoon,
Right,
that
yes.
is, right? Like this didn't try to bring that over. Like for example, I started watching. I think I watched maybe 2 episodes of the One Piece live action on Netflix.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And that to me, it's not as silly as the anime, or as, cause I didn't actually watch the anime. It's not as silly as anime can be, but it's still quite silly at times.
Okay. Yeah.
And quite goofy. And so this seems to be a choice that they are not really doing that. You know, it's definitely it's not like it's not a serious version of it, but it's definitely not a silly version either.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think the overall tone is less silly, more serious. And so I think Aang does match that tone.
Right.
I think the way he's acting fits. He's still playful and wants to play, and he's still himself, but it matches the overall level of everything, you know.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I might wish it was a little more lighthearted and a little more fun of a situation, but that's not this show. So given what the show is, I think everyone kind of fits their role, right? I think they're tuned to the right level. Right. No one's being like all extra and like the wrong show. You know, that can be kind of weird, you know.
That can be off-putting. Like if one leaned more into their character, their original character than the others, then it
Right.
would be very yeah.
Yeah, because
So
like
yeah,
if Sokka
it's more balanced.
was like way more sarcastic and like all the stuff and like faces and things, like you'd be like,
Right,
what
right.
what are you doing? Like this dude's way overacting. Like
Trying
this
too
is
hard. Yes,
not what we're
precisely.
doing. That's not it, sir. That's
Yeah,
not it.
precisely.
Um,
Okay, I feel you.
yeah, I'm trying to figure out what it is. And maybe it's just that Aang is not the typical annoying protagonist.
Mm-hmm.
But what is it about this show that you think makes it better than Percy Jackson? Because it's definitely better, right? Like I don't think that's even a question for me. Is it better than Percy Jackson? But
Well,
I'm trying to figure out why.
I listen.
Is it just the
The
premise
biggest
overall?
well, the biggest issue that I had with Percy Jackson was the writing. It was there was just too many questions that I had to ask, and I couldn't. Just there was no rhyme or reason to a lot of the reasons why things are being done. Like, and they adapted it from the book to the. Well, they adapted it from the book to the movie, and I'm pretty sure they went from the book to the TV show as well, instead of like from the movie to the TV show. But
Mhm.
my bad. But yeah, I think for me, I had the biggest issue with the writing, and I really hope that they fix that. That happens, but I really hope they fix that next season. But with this show, I think the writing is like far better. And like you said, I think the tone is everyone's matching the tone. So like in Percy Jackson, so Scoble, I think that's his name, Walker Scoble, I think it is. I think he's trying to match the character who is Percy Jackson, right? So in the movie Percy Jackson, the guy playing Percy Jackson was not nearly as sarcastic as the Matt or Walker Scoble in Percy Jackson,
Mhm.
right? And Annabeth is overly serious, like too serious for the show. He is too sarcastic but he's like playing his part correctly, right? So I'm wondering if, and I told you like during the show, I was like, there's something that I have an issue with the way Annabeth is doing her character, I feel like she's not relaxed enough or something. I don't know, something or whatever. So she's maybe too serious, right? And maybe he was, I don't know, there's just got some weird dichotomy going on there, weird thing that just didn't flow, sort of thing. That's kind of how I feel about it. So
Yeah, I don't know what it is exactly either, but I will say that the story of Aang to me, I think it's not an annoying trope, right? Like
yeah.
he's not cocky, right? He's
Mhm.
not foolhardy. He's not like way too rosy-eyed, right?
Mhm.
Everything will be fine. Like he's not that, right? He's
Mhm.
he's mostly realistic.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
That makes a big difference because these annoying children heroes, it's just it annoys everyone because you're
Yeah.
like, what are you talking about? Like and also he's actually already very skilled, so it's not
Mhm.
like he's cocky. When he is cocky, it's not like he's cocky for no reason.
Right. Yeah.
When he's cocky, it's because he knows he can easily beat you.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
Which was interesting when on the cartoon when he's fighting Prince Zuko on the ship, and when they're fighting, he's fighting, but he's mostly trying not to hurt him. You can kind of tell like he's
Mhm.
fighting him, and he's and he beats him, but he's still kind of playing with him a little bit
Right.
because he's kind of cocky about it because he knows like this kid can't match me, so
Right. Yeah.
let me not hurt him, but I'm still gonna beat him.
Mhm.
But like that's fun, right? Like you're
Right.
cocky, but it's cocky with a reason because you are way better than this person.
Yeah.
Versus like I just learned yesterday, but I'm gonna go, beat up whoever.
Chop off
But
those
hey,
4
this
to
is
5
not the
minutes.
Percy Jackson bashing show because we could go on for several hours just complaining about that. Oh my goodness. But yes.
No, yeah.
So yeah, I am looking forward to watching this show. And I don't think I'm going to watch it out of obligation.
Mhm.
I actually want to watch this. And so
I
I
do
have to
too. I
make
do
sure
too.
I don't go ahead and watch too much. But this was a good time. I enjoyed this.
Yeah. Yeah, I was the reviews that I had seen. So I didn't read any reviews. Wait, no, I did read one, but it hadn't come out yet, so there was no. It wasn't actually a review. So I'm thinking it was like a sneak peek sort of thing. I don't know what it was, but it said something like somebody was complaining about the fact that Sokka, I guess he has like a misogynistic kind of side to his in the cartoon or whatever, and apparently they weren't going to lean too heavy into that. His whole bossy side is enough for me.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's just, the pressure of, hey, like I gotta run this town since I was 13, right? And
Right,
protect
yeah.
this village, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
that's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. 'Cause I remember that being at play when they eventually get to like this Earth Kingdom town,
Okay.
and there's like some things happening. I don't want to spoil if people haven't seen it yet, but things
Right.
happen there that kind of bring that piece out of him. He kind of comes face to face with like his feelings about women and what they can and can't do. So
Right. Okay.
be
Okay.
interesting to see that part because I've already seen some of like the characters that are playing those pieces. So it should be interesting to see, how that all plays out. But
Okay.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's been a good time. So what's your rating for the show so far?
Oh man, I'd probably give it a 8. I think that was the first number that popped into my head, and it was. I feel like it deserves it, So
Okay. I think I'm starting at a 7. And that's mostly just because of some of the
cheap.
yeah, just the feeling low budgety.
Right.
I just I just have a hard time with low budget things. My
Yeah.
wife does not. Like she watches all kind of low budget movies and like it's got a great story. She's like, it's great. I'm like, yeah. But the lighting looks this looks like it's in someone's
totally feel
backyard.
that,
I
though.
can't.
I watched a low budget movie the other day, but I don't even remember the name of it. But the storyline was good. It was so funny too because it was so. I have the hardest time watching low budget, like where there's so much dialogue and not a lot of kind of action within the dialogue, and so it's low budget. Like
yeah.
you just see it. But it had such a great. It was very interesting because I wish I could remember what it was, but the dialogue or how it was written in any case was they would say stuff that I was thinking I would say in this situation, right? What I thought it was just like intelligent, and then they did the intelligent thing, and so I was like, so I actually ended up watching the entire thing. So
yeah.
Oh, what I remember. No, I don't remember. That was not the one. Anyways, yeah. So sorry.
All right. Yeah.
False alarm.
All right. So you said you give it a solid 8. I give it a 7. I think that's pretty good so far. A good start for episode 1 of season 1.
Yep.
Curious, folks, what you all think about the series so far. Please don't spoil us. We're trying to watch this step by step. I know they're all released already, but let's just only talk about the current episode that we're watching. But let us know what you thought. Did you like it? Did you watch the cartoon? Did you watch the movie? Let's make jokes about the movie right now, but we'll see how it goes. But yeah, make sure you guys like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want to see more of our videos and content.
Yep.
Anything else, Nate? I don't know.
Nope. That's it.
All right. Well, in that case, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Ciao.